on the discussion, we also have Major Mohammed Ali Shah, who's a retired defense and he's also a defense analyst. Welcome to the broadcast, sir. We were just discussing the possible actions that China could be expected to take now. And also the US response has been interesting, considering that yesterday the US reaffirmed that they still stand by the one China policy and they do not support Taiwanese independence. But today, again, Nancy Pelosi said that we support Taiwanese democracy. How do you see this strategic ambiguity that the United States is maintaining with respect to Taiwan?
A very good question by you, and thank you very much for having me on your show. You know, on 2nd January 2019, Xi Jinping had announced publicly that by 2050 they will take over Taiwan, and they will, because that's the time they would be finishing 100 years of China. And by the rate that they were going, it seemed that by 2027 only, or by maximum 2032, they would have taken over Taiwan. And everybody was fearing that China would have attacked Taiwan any moment, any time, anything could have happened. Now, when Nancy Pelosi had planned a visit to Asia, that means, again, to other countries, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, that time her visit to Taiwan was still tentative, and people were speculating and they were guessing whether she will go there or not. Now, I think firstly, hats off to the US Senator that she had actually had the courage after 25 years. Someone has, from the American government, someone high profile has actually gone there. And she was actually, if you see, number 3 in the order of power, if you see in a way, after President Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and then Nancy Pelosi. But now I would say she has emerged as a very strong leader. And now what China will do is, I will tell you, China issued threats that in case Nancy Pelosi comes to Taiwan, it will not be good. But barking dogs seldom bite. I'm sorry to have given this ideology, this simile. But a cloud which actually rose hardly gives shower. In fact, China was threatening then, and after she landed, just then, China issued a threat again. Now, be prepared for the consequences. There are going to be dire consequences of this. Now, the fact remains that China is not in a position right now because they don't have the resources. What Russia had when it attacked Ukraine, despite knowing the very fact fully well that Ukraine would be supported by America, by Britain, by the Western powers, by the NATO allies, they will have the support.
Right.
And China should not make the mistake what Russia did with Ukraine by imagining or underestimating them to be something very, very small. Because Taiwan has been fully prepared. They have been US Army. That was an objection raised by the Chinese foreign minister that US Army is training the Taiwanese soldiers incognito in civil dress. Why are they poaching? Why are they not hunting? Why are they doing it on sly? Right. That was one of the points made by them at that time. So right. Taiwan is fully prepared. China cannot do anything much right now because China is not in a position. At the most, they can impose some sanctions on Taiwan, which even US has the power to do that to China as well. So China is in a catch-22 situation right now, because if they do not initiate an action, they will lose face. If they initiate an action, again, they would be in trouble. So they are actually in a catch-22 situation. And a lot of people are speculating that after Nancy Pelosi leaves Taiwan, maybe that is the time that China will actually attack Taiwan, and they are prepared. But I do not think any of that sort is going to happen. And again, people, there were some channels. I commend your channel for a very, very balanced, mature, neutral, and an unbiased approach, for the very fact that a lot of channels are propagating that, oh, this is the start. Could this be a start of a third world war or something like that? No, definitely not. Far from it. It is that is not going to happen. And yes,
I think both our experts seem to suggest that if I can get you on that, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, what's your take on what India's position should be, considering the stakes are really high, of course?
I totally agree with Professor Chinoy, and I echo her sentiments. And yes, India will take a very, very measured, a very, very calculative, a very mature. See, India will not come out overtly, and India, we saw during Russia-Ukraine war, for example, I'm giving it for everyone to understand.
Right.
At that time, India didn't come out overt. India, in fact, did not even vote for the UN, in the UN at that time. So India had a very, very balanced stand at that time. So similarly, I mean, India has always believed in keeping a very, very balanced stand. So India's stand is going to be very, very neutral. India does not want to get in. Why should we unnecessarily get into unnecessary controversies or any issues like that? We are a peace-loving nation, and so would be our stand as well.
Right. So India's position, of course, should be balanced. But also, we were just talking about, with Professor Chenoy, we were talking about the military drills that were conducted. Those seen as a measure of military action, but of course not direct military action. What's your reading on it, Mr. Shah? How do you see those military drills? Were they only used as a signal to maybe scare off and give a warning to the United States right ahead of this visit?
100%. It was all posturing, and their drills are still continuing, in fact. And US also has sent its aircraft carriers at Taiwan, in fact, for that matter. So it is all, it is a preempt any action from China in case. But, just when Russia-Ukraine war was going to start, 24th February, 23rd February, I remember doing this analysis again that, it's all hybrid warfare, it's all posturing and nothing is going to happen. But they did go ahead and attack Ukraine on 24th by calling it a military action, and very smartly by using the Article 5 of the UN Charter. And they did that. So now China will not really take an action, military action, even after Nancy Pelosi leaves. Yes, there have been drills, there have been posturing, there have been fireworks happening at the border, which they have within the right to do that. That's still there, it's fine. But as they say, barking dogs seldom bite, or the clouds which thunder a lot, they do not really give rain. Similarly, so nothing really as such, apart from the military exercises, which from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. they would be conducting. And earlier also, they did this big war game, a couple of months, 2 odd months back at the China-Taiwan border. Now what will happen, I will tell you. China, which has made friends with countries like Cambodia, with Solomon Islands. Solomon Islands, specifically, I'll give that example. It is an island of 6 major islands and 900 minor islands. Now, Solomon Island is an example for everyone to understand. I'm giving Solomon Islands example only for that understanding. Now, they had a pact with Australia in 2017 that Australia will safeguard its integrity, sovereignty. They have a lot of problems on their coast. Like because there are so many islands that are fragmented, right? It's difficult to control everything altogether. So Australia has said, okay, you have pirate problems, you have problems of your Coast Guard, you have problems of this, we will give you protection. China went into a secret pact with Solomon Islands. Documents were leaked. That, okay, with that secret pact, China will have the power to deploy their peacekeeping force at Solomon Islands. Now, geographically, if you see, Solomon Islands, which is just 2,000 kilometers from Australia, and the world is round, right? The globe is round. So now Solomon Islands, also geographically speaking, it will be eastward, which means now westwards for the US. So it will be closer to the US. Right. So China will also have access there. So China tried to play a very smart act over there. But now, what will happen? The international community knows China's game. Now China will lose face. Either ways, they are in a catch-22 situation completely. Now the international community that they have made friends with will slowly and gradually back out. Because a friend in need is a friend indeed. And China does not have any genuine friends, actually. They made friends with Sri Lanka, but you saw what fate Sri Lanka met with. There was not a single medicine in Sri Lanka.
Right, of course. Threaten the United States ahead of the visit of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and also the military drills are still continuing, but a direct military action, a direct conflict is highly unlikely, as our experts are pointing out. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on this conversation and making it clear, as the conversation is going around, that there could be a conflict, there could be a direct confrontation between China and the United States, but it's important to make it clear, as our experts pointed out, that none of the two sides seem ready and none of them can really afford this conflict.